Have you ever imagined that, on a quiet night, an entire family could be exterminated while they sleep in their home? No struggle, no resistance, just a brutal massacre in the silence of the night. It sounds like fiction, doesn't it? But in Villisca, Iowa, this really happened, and what's even more terrifying is that to this day, no one knows who was responsible. You must be wondering, how is this possible? How could something so horrific happen and simply disappear without explanation? In 1912, something macabre happened in that small and peaceful town. An entire family was found dead in a brutal and inexplicable manner. But the mystery surrounding this crime goes much deeper than its brutality. What really happened that night? And the most disturbing question, who or what caused this tragedy? Today, we're going to explore the Villisca murder and the mysteries that still haunt this town. Imagine being in that town, the morning after the crime, when fear and disbelief take over the streets. Panic sets in, but the solution never comes. Stay with us until the end, because this story will make you question everything you believe about what's real and what's pure terror. Do you think the evil still lurks around there? And you, would you dare enter that house? Villisca, Iowa, a small town in the heart of the United States. In 1912, it was the kind of place where nights were calm and neighbors knew each other by name. The houses, made of wood, lined the quiet streets with well-kept gardens and trees decorating the sidewalks. Nothing extraordinary about the town. Until that night. Villisca seemed to be one of those places where time stopped. A town where peace prevailed. The town felt safe, calm, almost as if time didn't pass there. People would leave their homes to talk. Children played in the streets without fear. It was the type of place where no one locked their doors at night. The sense of security was absolute. But that night, peace would be shattered forever. The Moore family's house was simple but welcoming. Josiah and Sarah Moore, a couple with 4 children, lived there. The family was well known in the town, and that night they were hosting 2 children from the Stillinger family who would spend the night at the Moore household. Everyone was relaxed, as if nothing bad could possibly happen. At that time, it wasn't unusual for friends and relatives to spend the night with each other, especially in small towns where everyone knew one another. The idea of a tragedy like the one about to happen was unthinkable. It was a summer night, June 9th, 1912. The air was warm, and the children were probably tired after a long day of playing and laughing. Everyone was at home, the lights went out, and as the children fell asleep, no one knew that something terrible was about to happen. Inside the house, the silence was absolute, almost oppressive, as if something evil was lurking nearby. But what seemed like an ordinary night would soon turn into a nightmare. The next morning, a young friend of the Moore family named Mary arrived at the house, but what she found left her speechless. The doors were locked, the windows were closed, but something was very wrong. Horror was about to be revealed, and the town of Villisca would never be the same. The terror that would take over the town would be the beginning of a mystery that endures to this day. When the police arrived at the Moore house, the scene was more horrific than anyone could imagine. The Moore family, along with the 2 Stillinger children, had been brutally murdered during the night. Each of them was attacked while sleeping, without a chance to defend themselves. The killer used an axe, and what happened next left everyone stunned. The horror of the scene was indescribable. The bodies were positioned strangely. The victims were all in their beds, covered with sheets, as if the killer wanted to hide what he had done. Or perhaps, as if he wanted something even more macabre. Josiah and Sarah Moore were dead, with deep wounds and blood everywhere. The children who slept in their own rooms were also killed in the same attack. But it wasn't just this that left investigators perplexed. Something was very wrong at the crime scene. The scene was chaotic, yet meticulously planned. The house was locked from the inside. No windows were broken, nothing was stolen, no signs of struggle. It was as if the victims were in a complete state of trust and unpreparedness, as if they knew their killer. And the most disturbing part, no one heard anything. The silence was absolute. In a town where everyone knew each other, it was impossible to believe that something so brutal could have happened without anyone noticing. How could a crime of this magnitude occur in such a small town, where people were always alert to each other? This raised even more questions. The crime scene became even more shocking when an axe stained with blood was found in a nearby barn. The killer left it behind as if he didn't care to hide his weapons. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. During the investigation, something strange was discovered. The killer didn't just murder, he moved the bodies. The victims' heads were covered with sheets, but bloodstains indicated that the killer did this after committing the crime. And the children's rooms were in complete disorder, as if someone was trying to send a macabre message. Nothing made sense. With all these clues, authorities were left without answers. There were no clear motives, no theft, no personal reasons. What would drive someone to commit such barbarity? What was even more frightening was that the crime seemed carefully planned, yet at the same time, so irrational. There was something about this murder that didn't make sense. What disturbed investigators the most was the fact that despite so many clues, no one could offer a plausible explanation for what had happened. The feeling that something much bigger was behind this. Crime grew with each passing day. As the days passed, the authorities of Villisca followed a dead-end path. No concrete leads, no suspects. Rumors began to spread throughout the town. Some said the house was cursed, that evil had settled there, and that the killer might have even been guided by supernatural forces. This only increased the fear in the town, where many feared that the evil was still nearby, waiting to strike again. But the most shocking of all came when one of the main suspects, a man named Frank Jones, a local businessman, was investigated. He had personal reasons to hate Josiah Moore, and soon suspicions started to grow. Some believed he hired assassins to kill the Moores due to a business dispute. But after months of investigation, the police couldn't link Frank Jones to the crime, and what seemed like a possible solution quickly faded away. The town was divided, and the search for the truth became more desperate each day, but the case didn't fade away. The mystery didn't die. And the most disturbing thing, years later, in an unexpected twist, some witnesses started reporting inexplicable events. People who had lived in the house claimed to have seen mysterious shadows moving, and some said they heard the sound of axes being swung against wood, as if the crime was still happening, as if the ghosts of the tragedy were still haunting the place. The story of the Moore house became a legend, and the fear that the killer was still there gave no peace to anyone. The mystery was fueled for decades. Many believe the spirits of the victims still haunt the house. Others, even more disturbing, claim that the killer was never truly identified and that he might have continued his trail of terror in other parts of the country. And to this day, no one knows exactly what happened that night. But one thing is certain, the deaths of the Moores and the Stillinger children remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. To this day, the Villisca murder remains one of the greatest mysteries in American history. Decades have passed, but no one has ever been able to provide a satisfactory explanation for what really happened that fateful night. The killer, or killers, were never identified. And what's even more disturbing is that, even after all these years, many people still believe the Moore house is far from just a crime scene. After all, who or what would be capable of committing something so terrifying and leaving so few clues behind? What else could have happened that night? The answer may never be revealed, and the true story of the Villisca massacre may remain buried in the shadows of history. So what do you think? Is the evil still lurking in Villisca? Or is it just the echo of fear that lingers, trying to warn us of what may be behind this story? The truth is, the mystery never left, and maybe it never will. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment on what you think about the case, and subscribe to the channel for more real horror stories. Because, believe me, the mystery is closer than you think, and you never know what might be lurking in the shadows. Until next time, if you dare to return.